Hello friends, and welcome to the Hanged Man in the Moon. If this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm pleased to meet you. If you've been here before, thank you for returning. I'm truly honored. Friends, if you are a returning visitor, you know that this is my mini-series in which I'm diving into a very unique and delightful and expansive deck called The Tarot of the Holy Light by Christine Payne-Towler. And it's a deck that is very different from perhaps the decks that you're used to, or the decks that I grew up on, for perhaps even the last almost 45 years, off and on, more off than on, but I'm very used to the Golden Dawn based decks. Yeah, the Smith-Waite, the RWS decks, the Thoth Crowley, the Thoth deck, the Harris Crowley deck. Yeah. And all of their iterations. I'm very used to those. I'm very comfortable with those. And this is a different deck, a deck that I chose to help expand my understanding of tarot and the traditions that brought us to the tarot that we're using today. Because this is a deck called the Tarot of the Holy Light, and it is based on the creators, Christine Payne-Towler's research, extensive, exhaustive research into the continental tarot systems, which are the continental esoteric tarot, to be more precise. People like Eliphas Levi, names are escaping me right now, but Papas, the guy with the deck, Etea. So, like I said, names are escaping me. But yes, those kinds of tarot decks. And so every day, what do? I draw one card, and I acknowledge the meanings, the memories, the keywords that come up, which are associated with my study of the Golden Dawn decks, and I try to disengage those from the card that I'm looking at, so that I'm confronting that card as freshly as I can. I acknowledge them to be able to separate them, if that makes sense. And then I use an RWS deck, the Lightseer's Tarot, to help me unpack that card for me. I do a 3-card spread. First card of that spread is the significance of that card for me for that day. The second is the obstacle. The third is the advice. Typical 3-card spread. And then I live my day. And at the end of the day, I pull out my book, which accompanies which you can purchase along with the deck. A beautiful book, wonderful book, insightful and deeply educational book. And I look at the meaning as intended by the creator, and I reflect on how those meanings manifested or did not manifest for me during the day. And so the card I pulled today was this one. It was the Emperor in reverse. Now let me show it to you upright so you get a better view. And this is a gorgeous, gorgeous card and figure of a man. I mean, looking at this card, I think if this guy were to come up and ask me out for dinner and a date, I would be there in a flash. The hair, the body, the face, all wonderfully beautiful, beautiful card. Anyways, so there's this guy. I got him in reverse. And full disclosure, I told you I look at these cards early in the morning. And when I saw this card and I was looking at it upside down, I was sure it said the Hierophant. But it's not the Hierophant. It's the Emperor. But I did notice very clearly that this card was Jupiter. And so, what did I think? I was thinking, well, I don't know, Hierophant reversed, could be so many different things. Traditions, but break from traditions. It could mean, it could also mean mastery of self. It could be teaching of self. But the thing that I really latched on to this time, in addition to the beauty of the figure and the card, was that Jupiter thing. And Jupiter is expansiveness, right? It's growth, it's abundance. But reverse, what would that be? Would that be lack of abundance? Would that be contraction? That's possible. But then I thought of something else. What if, when we think of expansion, we think of expansion outwards, right? What if it was possible for there to be expansion inwards? So that our attention, our understanding, our the fullness of our presence could expand more within. Is that also a possibility? Am I making sense? I'm not sure if I'm making sense, but those are the thoughts that were rolling around in my mind, especially after I pulled the 3 cards from the Light Seer's Tarot. And you'll see why. Let me show you those cards right now. So, maybe you can understand now why I was thinking of expansiveness and why I latched onto Jupiter. Because the first card was the world. Yeah? The second was the Ace of Wands in the obstacle position. And then the advice was the Knight of Cups. And the Knight of Cups comes up for me for advice almost as often as the Knight of Pentacles. Yeah? Do the work and love it, maybe. So that's why I was thinking about expansiveness, because the world. And when you look at this card here, the world is completion. It's end of a cycle. It's the liminal space between one perhaps lifetime and another. It could be actual lifetimes, but it could also be one phase of one's life and the other, that liminal space when you're not exactly here or there, that space in between. Yeah, it's a launching point. It's also a conclusion point. But in this card in particular, do you notice there's white, either light or essence coming up or radiating out from here, and then there's a dark light or dark essence or dark energy either radiating out or connecting here. And what that balance of spectrum. Yeah, light and dark, yin and yang, yang, hot, cold, those things, right? This figure has those in balance, has them combined, is unifying them. Yeah, in this card in particular, of this iteration of the world card, I saw the idea of unity, causing unity, bringing the spectrum together into oneness. So that idea of expansion, maybe being that expansion inwards, that unifying, that unity, creating unity, might be what this card might be telling me in its reverse form. So the opposition is, of course, the new thing. The new thing would be an obstacle to the completion of the task at hand. Yeah? Chasing after the new, chasing after a new passion, trying to figure out what to do next, would be in opposition to the call to unify, to integrate in the present. And so the advice was, let emotion be what we're chasing after. Let our love, our creativity, that watery creativity, be what we're following. It might be romance, it might be poetry, it might be art, it might be beauty of any kind, and maybe it's the beauty of the integrated self that I could be chasing here. So those are the thoughts that were rolling around in my mind, and I'll tell you about that later. But first, let me tell you what the book says. So the book, the Emperor card upright, says, the Emperor exudes nobility of purpose from every pore. As Jupiter, he identifies with expansion and multiplication of all kinds. His optimism and generosity keep a door open for a better future to appear. At the human level, the Emperor is the icon of personal sovereignty in his individual history, in that his individual history becomes the destiny of his lands and peoples. So, personal mastery is extended beyond self. And that's about a little bit more from the upright side, just a bit. But despite his utter and complete power, our emperor humbly remembers himself as the head servant of the realm, the fortunate son of destiny. So the servant leader, sort of a Christ figure, yeah? The Christ figure is the one who leads by serving. So that's upright. Now, when it goes into reverse, not something I really liked very much, but well, let me read it anyways. When reversed, the emperor appears to be an unrepentant narcissist. He certainly accepts no correction, and like Alexander of old, he precociously takes more than is freely given. So, a self-indulgent narcissist. That's not something I want. But for those who fall under his patriarchal rule, his status as benevolent dictator remains uncontested. Now that's a benevolent. If you're going to be a dictator, be a benevolent one. Yeah, some people want a benevolent dictator. They want to be told what to do. I'm not generally the person to do that, but I know that people want that kind of leader. A lot of people want that kind of leader. Another difficulty that can appear with the emperor reversed is the syndrome of too much of a good thing. The emperor, being Jupiter, honestly believes that more is better, whether that is in fact true or not. Usually not. Yeah, more food, more indulgence, more alcohol, more talking, more spending, buying more stuff. Now that's something I might actually sometimes fall into, but I think most of us recognize that we can, during the pandemic, a lot of us did shopping therapy, yeah? Made ourselves feel better by spending a lot of money. And so that could be a Jupiter reversed kind of thing, perhaps. A little bit more. Where is this beginning? Here. There is no rule of mutual exclusion between having a good life and being sensible, at least not in this emperor's domain. His goal is to see his friends, family, and subjects living a full and meaningful life. He knows that if he can provide peace and opportunity for all, he will always command the people's loyalty and affection. But that's cool. That's something I would like to emulate. However, I don't think that was me today. Today, what happened? What did I do? What was my day today? Things didn't really happen to me today, but I had a day. It was a good day. I got up. I had my kind of breakfast, my usual Saturday breakfast, which is a little bit indulgent, but that's my only real, Saturday and Sunday are my only indulgent breakfast days. I usually do just plain oatmeal every other day. So Saturdays and Sundays are my days to indulge a little bit. So maybe that was the Jupiter thing. I don't know. I don't think I went overboard or unhealthily did that, but I did that. I had coffee and watched a movie and then went to work because I work a little later. I work on Saturdays, but late in the early afternoon. So I went to work and I worked. And it went fine. And as I was riding on the bus, I was pondering this thing about Jupiter. Expansiveness, perhaps the idea of expansiveness inwards, and then the integration of the world card that I saw. And I thought, well, how do I want to expand within? What do I want to integrate? And I started thinking that, I want to integrate somehow create more integration within my tarot practice. And then things started rolling around in my head as things sometimes do. And I was thinking that, yes, okay, so integrating systems maybe. And I had been contemplating a new kind of spread with the lead of our wonderful, wonderful creator of this deck, Christine Payne-Towler, based on the Ace of Swords. And realizing I have until now, and I would like to continue understanding ways of integrating different systems of tarot. Perhaps better, perhaps more fully, perhaps not just banging cards up against each other, but doing more integration. And maybe up until now, I've been basically just banging cards together. And now it might be more of a time for integration of the systems within me. And I think Christine Payne-Towler would agree with me that yes, this system that I'm working on, learning is a different system than the Golden Dawn. But I don't think she would say that Golden Dawn is a useless system. I think she's used Golden Dawn-based decks a lot in her past, but maybe and in her present, because they're different and because they have different backgrounds of understanding to them. Doesn't mean that one is necessarily wants to replace the other. And just because you're looking at a Rider-Waite-Smith deck doesn't mean that other systems can't influence the way we read that. And that's not a bad thing. I mean, I want to detangle them, but detangling doesn't mean throwing one out and keeping only one. And when we think of it, I mean, basically, other thoughts that came to my mind were that when we look at a card, the card itself has no intrinsic meaning. The pictures and the cards have no intrinsic meaning. The meaning is what we place on them. And the more we learn, the more we understand, the more that information we have access to, the deeper each image, the deeper each card can be read from any system. While we want to keep separate but equal, separate but in conversation, those are the things that were rolling around in my head, and that's how I would like to develop as a reader, and why I want to read different systems. Eventually I want to get into the deck that I was having a hard time remembering at the beginning of this video, the Etea deck. I want to get into that deck. I want to get into the Spanish, the Eudes Picard. And my pronunciation is probably wrong, but the Picard deck, which is a very different deck because, for example, cups are air and swords are water. I want to get back, and then I want to refresh my understanding of Thoth, my flexibility with reading the Thoth deck. I want to go back and move into Lenormand a little bit more deeply, and then, I mean, this is not within this month, this year, but these are things, my projection of things that I would like to do, and now you're probably saying you're overindulging, which is, you're being totally Jupiter reversed, but I'm not. This is not something I want to do right. I expect to be doing right now. This is a long-range plan, like 5 years, 10 years. The direction I want to be going in. And as I get back, as I revive some of the use of some of these other systems, or I learn a new system, or I feel more confident in working with a new system or a different system, I want to be able to play with these systems together and put them in conversation with each other and have one system perhaps sometimes enliven or deepen or shine a new light on a different system. And maybe some of that might be this romance thing, this romantic view of falling in love with and dancing with different systems of cards. And now I'm rambling, probably. So that's what I'm thinking of. That's what I think. That's what I think this card reverse was for me today. It was that Jupiter reversed not being the blockage of Jupiter, but rather the direction being internalized. Which is sometimes we read reversed cards in that way. Sometimes a reversed card can be just the opposite. Sometimes it could be resistance to something. Sometimes it could be trying too hard to make something happen. Sometimes it could be an internalization of whatever it is. Instead of the external experience, it could be the internalization or the internal experience of whatever that card is. And I think today, that's what was going on with this reversal. It was me being the master of my own internal domain and expanding within and reclaiming and wanting to integrate. And not be disappointed because there's no new idea, because this is not the time of new ideas or this new flame bursting in my third eye. This is the time for integrating what's already there. That's where I got with this reading for today. So I'd like to hear what you think. I might be forcing my own thoughts onto this, and I fully acknowledge that possibility. I'd like to hear what you think. So friends, if you're still here, hit the thumbs up button so that YouTube knows that you and perhaps other people might enjoy this as much as you do. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Hit the alarm bell so you get notifications of when I upload videos. Right before the new moon comes, check your calendars. It's coming up in about 2 weeks. Right before that new moon comes, that's when I will end this series. With the new moon, I'm going to go on to my reformed 2 video a week schedule. Reformed because I'm trying a different kind of spread for my big video of the week. And so, comment below. I would really love to hear from you, friends. If you want a private reading from me, my email address is below. Shoot me an email saying, I want a reading, and we'll work it out. We can get you a reading. Very easy. And friends, now, as always, I wish you love, joy, well-being, and pure awareness. Thank you.